Hello and welcome to One More Customer. Thanks for joining us today, and thanks again to our event hosts for helping us bring you today's webcast. Let me introduce you quickly to our host and our special guest. Fran Tarkenton is an NFL Hall of Fame quarterback, a serial entrepreneur, and a small business advocate. He led the Minnesota Vikings to 3 Super Bowl appearances and retired holding every major passing record. But Fran's passion has always been for small business. Over the last 40 years, Fran has built more than 20 successful companies, and since 1996, he's been an advocate for small business owners across North America. He's worked closely with DECA, the Small Business Administration, the NFL, the University of Georgia, and many other esteemed organizations. Our guest today is best-selling author, speaker, and entrepreneur Anton Gunn. Anton is the founder of 937 Strategy Group, a consulting practice that helps build world-class leadership culture at companies to transform employee engagement and service outcomes. Anton is a former lecturer at Harvard University, a former South Carolina state legislator, and a federal policymaker who has been featured in top media outlets including Time Magazine and the Wall Street Journal. He has had the unique opportunity to meet and interact with 5 different U.S. presidents, and the lessons and observations he's gathered in those meetings form the basis of his latest book, The Presidential Principles. Today, Anton and Fran have some great insights to share about the key leadership traits that will help you empower your team and your business. So sit back and enjoy this episode of One More Customer.
Flash wide to the left, Gilliam in the slot to the left. First and goal from the 7. Fran rolls to the right, dumps it out, caught by Foreman, touchdown! Fran Tarkenton's record-breaking 291st career touchdown pass.
Think about that in your life now. Who's in control of your life? You are.
Thank you so much for joining us again. I'm all for coaching. I'm all for mentoring. I'm 78 years old and I get mentored every day, and we learn from other people. And man, do we have a guest today. Anton Gunn is with us, and he has got such a great background in football, in leadership training, done amazing things in the business world. And you just strap up here because Anton is going to give you information that's going to make you better in starting your business, growing your business, or just in your life as it is. And Anton, good to have you, buddy.
Happy to be here with you.
Now, you can see that Anton here wasn't didn't do croquet.
No.
He probably played football.
Just a little bit.
Tell me a little bit, Anton. Give me your background. I know you played at South Carolina.
Yeah.
You're a speaker that people are after to come and speak and give you your life story and your skill set. But go back and tell me how it started for Anton.
Well, that's a great question. Really happy about being here to talk about it. The first thing I tell people when I introduce myself is that I'm a 4th generation military brat. And when I mean 4th generation, my great-grandfather served in both world wars. He was drafted into World War I at 20 years old. The war was over a year later. He lived his entire life in the mountains of West Virginia working in a coal mine. And then at age 44, he was drafted into World War II. Wow. He was drafted into World War II because his birthday, his 45th birthday, was a day after the draft cutoff. So he got drafted into World War II. And at the same time that he was in World War II, he was serving with my grandfather. My grandfather was 22 in World War II at the same time his father was, and he was in the Army Special Services. Now, a lot of people don't know what the Army Special Services is. They think it might be some elite fighting unit. Yeah. But the Army Special Services was the Army's baseball team. My grandfather played baseball for the United States Army during World War II, and then later played on some minor league Negro baseball teams. He raised 4 boys. My grandfather raised my dad and his 3 brothers. They all put on a uniform and served our country in combat zones. My Uncle Clarence, Korea War veteran, Uncle LG, Vietnam veteran in the Army. My dad was a Navy veteran, and he was in Vietnam as well as in Desert Storm, and my dad's baby brother also served in the Army.
So you had role models from the day you were born.
Yes, tremendous role models focused on service, and that's a value in our family. My mom was a school teacher, and she spent 30 years serving other people's families and kids, educating them. So that's the family that I come from. And I grew up in a place called Hampton Roads, Tidewater, Virginia. Yeah. Norfolk, Virginia is where my home was. And so I had these role models around service and being a difference maker in people's lives from the time that I grew up. And I'm the oldest of 4 boys. And I didn't continue in the tradition that my dad and my granddad and my great-granddad, in terms of serving and putting on a military uniform, I put on a football uniform.
All right, you played football. You played football at college in South Carolina.
Yeah, I played college ball at the University of South Carolina. Go Gamecocks. I know you're a Georgia Bulldog, and I respect the SEC, and I respect the experience that I got in college. And so I came to college as a tight end. I was about 225. They grew me into an offensive lineman. And so I finished my college football career as an offensive lineman at the University of South Carolina. And I will tell you that the teams we were on were not very good. Okay, I beat Georgia one time in 4 years. I beat LSU one time in 4 years. We struggled a lot as a team.
Did you go to pro football?
I did not go to pro football. I made a decision to go pro in something else. Yeah, you know, I was down on the sport. And this is kind of, you know, why we want to talk about business. Yes. And I happen to be a talented player that was on a dysfunctional team with some difficult coaches. Wow. And I can tell you the evidence of that. I played with almost 20 players who played in the professional NFL football. And they were all on my same college team. But we weren't good enough to win more than 3 games one year, 4 games the next year, 5 games the next year. That we had great talent, but we didn't have it coalesced around a good culture and a good team. And if you're going to be good in business, you got to have a good business culture.
But you had an advantage here.
Yeah.
You understood what a good culture is in your family.
Yes.
That's unbelievable.
Yes.
Most of us don't grow up that way to be able to have that kind of culture.
Yes.
But by understanding that at an early age, you got to college and you could understand a dysfunctional culture. That's so important for you to get. Go ahead.
I knew that, I know what a world-class leadership environment looks like. I mean, that's what I had in my family. It's world-class. I knew what good culture is, but we didn't have that on our teams. We had great talent. We had phenomenal players. I mean, one of my teammates played 10 years in the National Football League.
What was it about the culture that was leadership coaches who were out there driving you every day and supposedly teaching you, but you didn't think they were somewhat dysfunctional?
Yeah. Well, the main context is this. Like, if you want to build good culture, if you want to build a great team, is you have to know who you have on the team. So everything that I just told you about my background, none of my coaches knew. They didn't know who my grandfather was. They didn't know who my great-grandfather was, or my dad. They knew my dad was in the Navy.
Well, why didn't they?
Because they never asked.
Did they not care?
My assumption was that they didn't care because they never asked.
They never asked.
And when you got players on the team and you don't really ask who they are as a person, what makes them tick, what motivates them, what inspires them, what gets them out of bed in the morning.
Would it be kind of you didn't trust them?
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
And you know, trust is critical in everything in business. If you don't have good trust, you don't have a good business. And people have to trust who you are. They have to trust your brand. And I didn't have trust.
Why do they trust or not trust it? You trusted your family, all your leaders. You didn't trust this group.
Yes.
What was the difference? Why didn't you trust these people?
Well, the main context is trust starts with how you demonstrate if you care about a person. So let me tell you this. Every customer, every employee at every organization, they may never verbalize these 3 questions, but these are the 3 questions that they want answers to from you. Question number 1 is, will you help me? That's the first question is, will you help me? The second question is, do you care about me? Mm-hmm. And the third question is, can I trust you? And can I trust you're going to do what you're going to say? So my first question is, you know, if you want to be good in business, your customers, your team has to know you're going to help them to be successful. Mm-hmm. Will you help me? Secondly, do you care about me? Do you care about your customers? Do you care about your employees? Do you care about your suppliers? And if you care about them and you're willing to help them, then that's how you build trust. If you care about people and you're willing to help them, that's how you build trust.
We have these people out here. I believe everything you say. That's the fiber of who you've got to be a leader. But in business, you're always supposed to make money.
Yes.
You haven't mentioned one thing about making money, but I think what you are saying to me, if you want to make money, you've got to have this culture first.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, I'll give you a prime business example of how those 3 points make you the most money. We all know Chick-fil-A in the South.
Yeah.
We all go to Chick-fil-A. Everybody loves Chick-fil-A. You go to any Chick-fil-A anywhere, the line is wrapped around the building.
Except on Sunday.
Except on Sunday when they're closed. So they're closed one more day than every other fast food chain. Yeah. McDonald's, Burger King, you name it, they're all open on Sunday. Chick-fil-A is closed on Sunday, and they make more money than all of those companies do combined in their stores because they know those 3 principles. That they trust their employees, trust them, their customers trust them, they know the value of the product that they have. They also care about their employees. I can tell you that the greatest customer service I've ever seen in my life has been at a Chick-fil-A. That when the line's wrapped around the building, they don't wait for me to get to the window to take my order. They make their employees come out in the rain and walk up to your car and says, may I take your order? Is there anything else I can do for you?
All right, now, all the culture things, you've all heard the culture things.
Yeah.
But it's something more that's coming from Anton. It's in his DNA. It's part of your soul.
Yes.
It's part of who you are.
Yes.
And if it's not part of who you are, it cannot come out. And you know what? I bet you walked into that South Carolina locker room and there for 4 years, and you saw those coaches, and you didn't see authenticity, did you?
Not at all.
You didn't. You heard words,
Yes.
but behind the words, there wasn't somebody there that you felt really cared about you.
Yeah, and see, your point is critical to my book, book, The Presidential Principles. The first principle is you inspire people by your actions, and your actions have to be authentic. Your words are meaningless if your actions aren't congruent with your words. And so you can tell me to do A, B, C, or D, but if your actions are not congruent with what you're telling me to do, you won't build trust in people. You won't deliver value to them. They won't be responsive to you. And so I had some great teammates. I mean, I will tell you, my teammates are some of the best in the world. We were all looking for the same thing. We all wanted to be helped. We wanted to be improved. We wanted to win. And we wanted to feel like we mattered to our coaches and the other team. But I can tell you my personal experience is that I didn't get that. I didn't get that level of trust. And it reflected on the field. Sure. When you win 3 games your first season, and 5 games your second, and 4 games your third, then that clearly demonstrates that the trust is not there.
Here's what's important. For Anton and any of us that played sports, we learn it from sports and business, you want to be coached. You want to mentor, and you want to tutor, and you want to be coached. But it's got to be genuine. It cannot be fake.
Can't be.
It's got to be the real thing, and we see that.
Matters.
We see that. This book, The Presidential Principles, we're going to get through it. It's 7 of them. Yeah. We just got 1.
Yeah.
Let's go to 2.
Yeah, it's great. Well, the second thing in the principle in the book is answering the call to service. And when I say answer the call to service, if you're going to be in business, if you're going to be in any kind of leadership role anywhere, you got to understand it's your responsibility to serve first and lead second. The businesses who are the best are the ones who value customer service, that they focus on service. Because if you're going to render a service or a product to someone, then you need to serve it to them in a way that makes them feel like you're committed to them, that you value them.
They are the most important people in the world.
They're the most important people in the world, that everything matters to them. So that's the second principle.
That's great. Go third. These are great principles. You can get them in the book, The Presidential Principles. But as we go along here, if you can write these 7 points down because they're really good. Go to 3.
Number 3 is you got to decide to engage. So if you're going to make a decision about being in business, you got to commit. You can't be, as my coach say, a half tail in the game. You got to commit. You got to be all in. You got to decide to engage, and you got to be intentional in your actions. The best leaders are the ones who are intentional in their actions, even if you don't agree with the decision. If you know that people are intentional, if they made a decision to engage, to understand the strategy and the purpose of what you're doing in business, people will follow leadership that's engaged. And so you got to be intentional.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Go to 4. This is good stuff.
Number 4 is the one that I think is missed out more than anything else is you got to be a great motivator. Okay? You know, motivation, a lot of people say, you know, are you a motivational speaker? I don't really get into being a motivational speaker, but I will tell you this. Motivation is like oxygen. You need it every day. And if you got a business with employees, or if you're an entrepreneur of some sort, you got to be motivated when you get up. Your employees need to see you motivated, and you got to be able to motivate them to get through the tough times. I faced a fair amount of adversity in my life, and I'll tell you at this point, I'm a fourth generation Brad. I told you about my great grandfather, I told you about my grandfather, and I told you about my father. The fourth generation of military is not me, it's my brother. My brother joined the Navy in January of 2000, and unfortunately 10 months later, he was killed in a terrorist attack aboard the USS Cole. And I lost my younger brother in a terrorist attack when he was just 22. And it devastated me, and I had every reason to want to quit on life and just give up and feel like there's nothing I can do to help anybody else when you lose your brother in a terrorist attack. But what I understood is that tomorrow's never promised, and we got to live every day till its fullest. Wow. And so I got this internal motivation to try to add as much value to people's lives as possible. And if you're in business, you got to be able to share with your team your why. What motivates you to be in business? What motivates you to want to make these products, to make this service? What motivates you to want to deliver and make a difference in people's lives?
You got to open yourself up.
You got to open yourself up.
Back to the authenticity,
Yeah.
you got to open yourself up, because right now, he's engaged me. If he hasn't engaged you, I know he has. Because I'm seeing, coming out of this great man here, these stories that are so real, and we can learn so much from them. And it's not a silver bullet.
Yes.
It's what's in your heart and in your soul. And if you don't have this in your heart and your soul and haven't learned to understand that, you need to get there.
Yeah.
You need to get there. It won't happen any other way.
Yeah.
My goodness. Keep going on these.
Yeah. So principle number 5, I call it preach what you know. Okay. Les Brown, a famous motivational speaker, has a quote that says, "Don't teach what you don't know, and don't lead where you don't go." And what I say in that context is that if you want to be successful in business, you got to recognize that if your business is at this level, your business will never get to this level unless your leadership goes higher than your business. So it's like a cap. You have a lid on your success, that if you're at this level, your business will never exceed where you are individually. And if you want to take yourself to the next level, you have to grow yourself as a leader. That means you got to be a student. You got to learn all the time. There's nobody that's an expert on their product or their service or their industry. There's always something more that you can learn. And if you can learn something, then you can teach something. If you can learn something, if you've done something, then you can preach something.
But what he's saying also is, I don't have all the answers.
Right.
Anton doesn't have all the answers. You don't have to have all the answers. But I think I'm hearing you say, if I come and one of your employees, one of your partners comes to you with a question or a thought, and you say, well, I've got to be so smart, I've got to have the answer, but I really don't have the answer.
Right.
You're saying,
Yes.
say, I don't know.
Yes.
It's okay to say, I don't know, is it not?
It's incredibly okay. So when I got married, I've been married almost 18 years, and my dad gave me a piece of advice. He says, you got to master these 3 phrases when you get married. Yes, you're right, and I'm sorry. And the acknowledgement is that you don't have all of the answers, and you're going to make a mistake, so don't be afraid to say, I'm sorry. And you're not going to be right all the time, so it's okay to say to someone else, you're right. And if they want to go in a different direction, they got an idea that they want to bring to the table, sometimes it's important to say yes to somebody else's idea, because we don't have all of the answers. But you got to be committed to learning and growing.
I want to reinforce that. It's okay not to know everything.
Yeah.
And it's also back to authenticity. You don't know everything. Anton doesn't know everything.
Yeah.
I don't know everything. Just because you become the leader, the owner, the president, the chairman,
Yeah.
or the boss, doesn't mean you know everything.
Yeah.
And when you put that air on that I do, you lose your credibility.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, number 6, and I'll just tie this 6th one up into a bow. It's called share the responsibility and own the accountability. And I learned this. I have personal life experience with 5 U.S. presidents, okay? And I can tell you one thing, that no president is successful without a great team surrounding him or her in the future. So the whole point is you got to have a great team around you, right?
Yep.
And when that team is successful, the best leaders share the credit for the success with everybody else. That we're only successful because of my team. I'm only successful because of what my team has done. You know that as a great quarterback. You don't win championships without giving the credit to the offensive line and the other players on the team. You got to share the success of the responsibility.
And you got to do it genuinely.
Yes.
And the fact of the matter, it's the truth.
Yes.
If I throw 4 touchdown passes,
Yes.
it's because my lineman blocked, my receivers caught,
Yes.
everything went right.
Yes.
It was when you can give credit to everybody else, that's when you become a leader.
Yes.
It's about not me, it's about you and making sure they're giving that credit. Now,
And when things don't go well, when you lose the game, when you make a mistake, you own
that
the
mistake.
accountability. You own the accountability. That's what leaders do.
I lost 3 Super Bowls. It was my fault. It wasn't the defense's fault, the coach's fault, it's mine. You'll be a better person when you accept the blame, then you will go and do something about it. We got a minute.
Yeah, last principle is work today for tomorrow's impact. And what do I mean by that? There's a famous quote that says, success without a successor is a failure. And if you don't work today to use your gifts, your talents, to leave an inheritance for those that come along after you, you might be successful in business, but you'll never be significant. You know, Colonel Harlan Sanders started his business at 65 years old. And long after he's gone, KFC still has a legacy.
That's Kentucky
Dale
Fried
Carnegie
Chicken.
died in 1954. And people are still getting Dale Carnegie training
Yeah.
today.
Oh, it's great stuff.
Because they recognize that the goal is not success, the goal is significance. And if you focus on being significant as a leader, then you'll create a legacy that will outlive your life and matter to people who come along way after you're gone.
If that doesn't move you, I don't know what will. Here's the book, The Presidential Principles, Anton Gunn. And I'm sure they can get it at bookstores, they can get it over the internet and Amazon and everywhere else.
You can get
right?
Amazon.com or you can go to presidentialprinciples.com and get it there as well.
We learn everything we learn from other people. And get his book, listen to his message. Anton, we've never had a better guest than you.
Thank you.
And you've made my life better sitting here listening to you, and thanks so much for being here.
Well, what I want to do for your guests, and I know this is your audience, I would love to give them a free chapter of my book.
Good.
I'll give them a free chapter. If you go to antongunn.com/free chapter, you can download a free chapter of my book, read the principles, learn about how this can help you in your business. And from that, I'd love to build a relationship with your team.
If you want to have success, think like this man. Buy his book and get the free download. And thanks for joining us. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. And visit with my business partner there and ask them how they can help you start and grow your business more successfully. Thank you so much for joining.